All right, so Hector, let's jump right in. So give the audience an idea. Where do you actually sell real estate? How long you been doing it?
Yeah, so I sell real estate here in the greater Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay and surrounding areas. And then I've been doing it. I finished training mid-September of last year.
Crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to tell the audience kind of the story of your journey in the business, what you've been learning, some of the work that you and I have been doing together, and then we'll break it down so that people watching or listening to the show can start to move their business forward. That's why we do the podcast. So when you first started, the thing I really like to focus on, because there's a lot of new agents that listen to the show, you know, I guess the first question is, what were some of the early struggles in that maybe you thought it was one thing and you quickly found out that it was a completely different thing?
Yeah, so I would say some of the early struggles, just to give you some backstory, I started in the audience some backstory. I started in real estate just because I wanted something different, wanted a different career, was looking at different sales jobs and thought, let me start my own journey. And so one of the biggest struggles at first was I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to post on social media that I got my license and people are going to text me and that I'm going to start selling real estate and it's all going to be golden. But what ended up happening is I realized, holy cow, this is a lot of work. And it's something that I didn't understand, but I love. And so it was one of the biggest struggles for me was I joined um a model. We had a conversation early on. I joined a model that was more of like online lead based. And I felt like I was running around to all parts of the city at whatever time my phone rang just to go to a showing and then realize, hey, they're never going to talk to me again.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the biggest struggles when I jumped in.
Yeah. So a couple things, right? So like most, you thought you would get in the business, to your point, have a passive approach to acquiring clients. How often did that happen? That you posted on social media and your phone just started blowing up? Hector, so cool you're in this business. Come sell us a house. How often did that happen?
Never.
Yeah, zero, right?
Yeah.
So most people believe that, okay, if I build it, they'll come. If I get my license, I'll have a bunch of people reach out to me and I'll be the successful agent. And they quickly realize, wow, ain't nobody calling me. Ain't nobody coming to save me. I
Yep.
have to be the one to go out there and generate opportunities. And so, is that what led you to finding me, and then ultimately you and I working together in a coaching relationship?
Yeah, yeah. So I quickly realized the people that had the listings had the leverage. And so I was like, I want to be those people. So how do I become those people? So I got on YouTube and I was like, listing appointment, how to generate leads. And you came up and I started watching, and it didn't take much convincing. I mean, I watched for probably a week or two, and I went to my wife. I was like, I think this is an investment I need to make in myself, just like someone would invest in college, just like someone would invest in an education. I was like, I want to be educated to be the best version of myself in this business that I can be. And so it it didn't take much convincing, and I just jumped in, no regrets, and just kind of looked forward and thought, I'm going to build a business, and no one's stopping me.
It's awesome. And we're going to break that down in just a second, what that all looks like. So just to really quick go backwards for a second, and then we'll jump into present day. When it comes to lead generation, client acquisition, you were buying leads. Is that what you were doing, or were you on a team that was providing you leads?
Yeah, so a team-based model through a brokerage that has two different models, one through a team,
Okay,
kind of independent. Basically, mainly Zillow,
got
um,
it.
Realtor.com, True, like, all of the different online leads. So I did that for about, I would say 3 months.
And
Um,
how did you do with it? What were the results like? Because that's what I really want to get after. Like, what were the results in converting online leads for that 3 months?
yeah, I closed one buyer in
Got it.
January from the leads, and I was taking them from middle of, or I'm gonna close two from it. I'll close one actually this month from a new construction, but that was it. Like, it was tough. I mean, I was taking leads, going to meet people on the spot, dropping everything,
Mhm.
and really not much conversion from it, if you will. And so.
So no control over your time, right? And then it's like what a lot of people have told me, Hector, is when they go to that model is I feel like, man, I'm working really hard. I have to drop everything to your point. So I'm working really hard, but I'm not making the money and I have no control over my time. And so that to your point earlier, you're saying I have to flip my business from buyer centric to listing agent focused. So let's talk about what that looks like today.
Yeah.
So um, first off, again, what I ask agents to do is hard work, but the upside is to have control, to have leverage, to make the money that you want to make, and to build it consistently.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Can you break down kind of what lead sources you're focused on right now?
Yeah. So mainly for me is a new expireds, for sale by owners, and then I do circle prospecting as well.
Got it. Okay. And you're in an awesome market to do all of that. And so, what does your average day look like now that we've transitioned out of waiting for business to find you to now you being on the offensive and going out there and generating opportunities? What does the average day look like?
Yeah, and I love that you asked that because my average day before I got in coaching with you was atrocious. Like wake up when you want, call when you want. It was like I wasn't even being productive. But what my day looks like now is wake up in the morning, go to the gym. After I get back from the gym, I read the Bible, read my goals, read some part that gives me life, right? Gives me a purpose,
That's right.
and that's what I believe in. And then I role play in the morning from 7 to about 7:30. And then from there, it's hit the phones. So try to get, as close to 8 o'clock as we can. About 7:50 is when I load up the dialer and throw everybody in there. And I call until about 10:40. So about 7:40 to 10:40 is when I'm making those calls. And then um, from there, 10:40, I have a reminder on my calendar that says daily hot lead follow up. And so go into my CRM. Um, pull up my hot leads and make sure I touch every file. I look at every file, right? Whether they need a text, whether they need a call, whether it's okay, hey, wait, they can wait, a couple more days. We just had a
Sure.
conversation. Talk to all the people that are willing to do business within the next 6 weeks. And then I transition. After that's done, I have on my calendar what I call like prospecting cleanup. And so write my thank you cards that are going out to the leads that I've generated today, making sure that everybody's in the right folder. I've taken my notes, making sure that everything's squared away. And then I take a break at lunch. And so I try to do my heavy prospecting, making sure that I'm doing what's going to generate me money first thing in the morning because it's true. I don't have to worry about, like, I don't have stress about where money's coming from. I don't
Right.
have stress of whether or not, like, if a deal falls through or something happens, I'm not worried about where business is coming from. And so sorry, side note, but after I take my lunch, then I work on like getting listing presentations ready, servicing current clients. All of my current clients know they're not going to hear from me before 11 a.m. And so that's when I make my calls with my active listings, active buyers, and those things. And then from 3 to 6 is usually allotted for appointments.
I love it. So now you've got a nice schedule that you get to follow. It's very structured, it's very organized, which has allowed you to scale your business. And so let's kind of break down some of the things you talked about. So when you're first thing you said is you role play. You actually work on your skill set. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I think that a lot of people that get into this industry also don't understand that it is, in fact, a sales business. I don't know why people get mad at me when I say that, but it is a sales business. And so that means we have to work on our skills.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about the importance of that and the importance of growing your skill set and getting actual results?
Yeah, it's I would say absolutely critical. I didn't role play until about a prospecting challenge in February, and my skills from there have like exponentially grown. I didn't realize I have no sales experience prior to September, jumping in and not
Sure.
knowing what I'm doing. Getting on the phone with someone who also wants to better themselves every single morning, and challenging each other, like we're ruthless in there. It's a gauntlet, right?
That's
It's
right.
like you hear bang from the other line, you're like, dang, they got me.
Sure.
So practicing objections and really honing in those skills, your tonality, the way that you're asking questions, it's critical because not only does it help my sales skills and like my ability to listen. I'm a like outgoing person, right? And
You're an
so
expressive. Yeah, big time.
yeah. Yeah, so I like to like talk and so I've had a hard time with listening, but even practicing and role playing has helped me realize, holy cow, like I can be a much better listener than I am. And when you're a better listener to the prospect, like you can dig at what they, motivation they have and then set the appointment, right? And meet them in person. And so practicing has been critical in my business, honestly, and my skills
Yeah.
on the phone.
It's great. So as far as results go, how many conversations do you typically have in that first 2 hours every day on average?
Yeah, on average, I would say 25. Sometimes pickup rate's better, sometimes it's worse. Sometimes that's 35, but I would say 25 is about where I'm at.
Got it. And then on average, how many leads would you say that you're able to generate on a daily basis that you're sending out a thank you card, or maybe you track it per week, but how many good solid listing leads are you able to generate?
I would say at the minimum two a day on
Yeah,
average.
makes
Um,
sense. So you're about 10% of the people you talk to turn into a good solid lead of someone who you could potentially get in front of and interview to take the listing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then on a monthly basis, Hector, if we just look at like what's typical for you, how many appointments are you able to set? How many listings are you able to take typically?
Yeah, so I have my April numbers up here. In April, I said, 6 appointments. I met 5 appointments and I took 2 listings.
It's
And
amazing.
so for me, it's pretty much been on average, 1 to 2 listings per month. And I feel like that's, pretty incredible for just being in the business. So I love it. And I'm like
Yeah.
just reaching the iceberg, the top of the iceberg.
That's right. And that's exactly why I want to have you on because it's like, okay, you're able to generate in 1 month, which was taking you months and months and months and months to do. And it's on the listing side, which allows you to have some leverage. So when it comes to converting and winning the business, right? So uh, the skills that you're talking about over the phone, can you share maybe some specific skill sets that you've learned when it comes to selling over the phone that have allowed you to set the appointment? Are there any specific skills that you've learned with the reverse selling system that's helped you?
Yeah. So I always thought sales was like push it down your throat. Um, never let them say no. And that's what I've heard other people say. Like, what do I need to do to get you to sign right now? It's like I've learned from your coaching and you giving back to us from what you've learned is that give the prospect the autonomy to tell you no. Like, let them make the decision on their own. I think that's been one of the biggest things for me is, hey, what, one of the things I say is, it looks like a great home. I mean, what are you looking for and something else, in another home that you don't already have? And it's like, then they just vomit like, oh, I have grandkids and in another state and they need to do this, this, and this. And then by the time that they've talked to me for 5 minutes about like all of their motivation, the appointment is the easiest part
Yeah.
because they've just expressed all of the things that they're motivating them to make a decision. And so I would say harping on like let them tell you no and ask and speak against your own interest
Yeah.
because that raise or that lowers their reactance, right? It allows them to be comfortable, right? And to have a real conversation with you. So I would say definitely that, like being able to just speak against myself.
Yeah, it's massive, right? Because you're exactly right. A lot of agents that like they get into outbound prospecting and they just can't get any results. They can't get any leads. They can't even not only can they not set appointments, they can't even get past the first 10 seconds
Yeah.
because they are met with resistance and they haven't been trained in what to do. And you're speaking to some of the core philosophies on like how do I actually get into a good solid conversation with someone who doesn't know me? And the best way to do that is to respect their autonomy, giving them the option to tell you no. And when you do so, they tell you yes more often. Is that what you have found?
Yeah, 100%. And I would say even speaking to what you just mentioned, like the pattern interrupt is crucial.
Yeah.
You don't know how many people they get on the phone that just they get on the phone. Hey, my name is Hector. I'm a realtor. I just want to say, like, are you wanting to sell? And it's like, take a step back. It's like,
Click. Yeah.
yep, click. It's like how many times I'm the one that gets to have the further conversation with that person. Out of like however many call because of what you've taught us, it's, Hector? And they're like, it's like their interest is piqued and it's, hey, I know you're gonna, hey, before you hang up, I was just hoping to ask you a quick question if that's okay. It's like their guard is immediately dropped because I'm mentioning the thing that they want to do. They want
That's
to have
right.
fun. So the
Yeah.
pattern interrupt too has been critical as well in having successful conversations over the phone.
Great. So shifting to the listing appointment. So this is another huge area I think agents really struggle with, right? So now we talked about appointment setting a little bit. Let's shift over to what have you learned that's helped you go into a listing appointment and come out and actually win the business?
Yeah. It speaks to reverse selling. I mean, what you provide as far as material and the listing presentation script that we have through the program has been critical. I think the number one thing for me, and we hear this a lot on the show because I watch it, but it's setting the agenda.
Yeah.
It's sitting them down and saying, there's going to be an outcome here. Here's what we're going to go through. And at the end, you'll be able to make a decision of whether we're going to do business or we're not going to do business together. I think there's probably a lot of the agents that walk in there with no agenda and just hope at the end of the 2 hour conversation that they're going to sign on the dotted line.
That's right.
And I I bring a packet with me and I bring a listing and bring comps and all of those things, and it's easy for me to articulate my value because I'm showing them and able to articulate what it is that I'm doing for them that's going to help them have their home sold in the end. And it's
Yeah.
one of the things that's the biggest is the mule and the magician. Like when I first started going on these appointments, I would have like all of the things that my marketing do, like all my marketing, and literally go through line by line, and you just become a commodity at that point. And so I've been able to walk into homeowner's home and tell them, like, be a magician. They're like, you're gonna sell my home for a price that works for me or more. Like, sign me up, right? And
Yeah.
so it's been critical. I mean, I would say that setting the agenda and then being actually able to win the business at the end. We've had multiple conversations on that, but setting a clear expectation on what's going to happen at the appointment. That way they are prepared at the end when you do ask for the business.
Makes total sense. I love it. So, why do you feel like the big portion of the industry or a large portion of agents inside the industry have such a tough time either willing to do this type of work of outbound prospecting, or they feel as though it's not effective anymore and there's these other shiny objects out there that they believe is better? Where do you think that comes from? How would you speak to that? Because you've done both and now you're getting results in doing this type of work. Why do you think agents fight it so bad?
Um, I would say it's because it takes a lot of work. You have to be committed. You have to, I joined your program, and one of the first things we walked through is like mindset training when I joined, and that was critical. I mean, it's not only changed like my business, but like myself as a person. Like I am a much more proficient like individual. I'm better husband, better uh like everything, right? Like, and so I would say the biggest thing I think that agents is they get in this idea of they're gonna join real estate. It's gonna be super easy. They watch these TV shows on Netflix about these realtors that just argue about houses and that are $1 million+ and they think it's just going to be butterflies and rainbows and they don't have to do work and they're going to be able, and it's the exact opposite. Real estate is what you get out, what you put in. And so I've learned that people aren't willing to look at the facts and say what is the most effective way for me to be in control of my time, generate business for myself, and create a business that will be sustainable for a long period of time.
That's
And
right.
so, I mean, for me, I want to be in control, right? Like, I
Yeah.
want to be the one that's in control that says, if I know that if I get on the phone this morning, I'm going to generate leads, I will set appointments. And at the end of the month, I'm going to look back and I'm going to have listings
Yeah.
because I'm willing to do the work. And I think just some people just aren't willing to do the work. They like the comfortability of, maybe a W-2 is where they came from. And maybe they're just not cut out to do the work and create the business because it is hard at first. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't get a paycheck for a while, but I knew that what I was doing was gonna pay off.
Yeah.
Like that was difficult, but I think it's that instant gratification we have with social media as well, with everything else of, I want something and I want it now, and people don't realize that that's just not the way real estate works. If you want to build something, it takes time.
Yeah. I wrote down, I think a lot of agents are just looking for the path of least resistance.
Yep.
That's what it is. Right. And so if you could just rewind and get licensed all over again, what would you do differently?
I would I would literally not do what I did for a couple months. I would jump right into the program. And I would say I would have been way more consistent
Mm,
in the program because I was jumping into real estate. And so for me, it was like, all right, like I need business now, right? Like I want to make
sure.
money, right?
Hmm.
I'm just jumping into something. I have no idea
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And so even me, I'm like, I'm in this program, but like how long is it gonna take? Like is
Sure.
it really working, right? I'm
That's
watching
right.
like, all these people. And so I would say from the moment that I got my license, I would have picked up the phones, spent all my time working on my skills, the way I am now, because I would be in a different place even right now, right? Like, yes,
That's right.
I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm so hungry to be even higher and earning more and doing more and being better, right? And so and being different. And so I feel like I would have from the beginning jumped on the phones, no questions asked, and put all of my eggs in the basket and watched it all, come back and tenfold. So I
So
think
you
that's
would have focused on a listing based business right from the get go. You would have jumped into outbound prospecting right from the get go, not have waited for business. I totally agree. So the last thing you just said is what I'm curious about, which is as you look ahead with this new skill set, right? You have everything to look forward to with the compounding effect of all of your prospecting activities, which still haven't happened yet. So as you look ahead, what are the goals that you look at? What do you feel like you can accomplish as you look ahead over the next year or two?
Yeah, so I actually did my GCI today. So this Friday I closed the deal. And my GCI will be at GCI that's before splits, but I'll be
Sure.
actually over 50,000.
Crazy.
Uh,
Crazy.
and so just looking at that, like I told myself that I was gonna make $100,000 this year, no questions asked. And as my skills compound, as my pipeline builds, I mean, the minimum for me is 150,000 this year GCI. And then after that, I mean, the sky's the limit. Stupid
It's great.
numbers, 500, a
Sure.
million, right? Those are all goals that I see that are attainable for myself. Those aren't things where I feel like at times you look at goals and you're like, dang, that seems so unrealistic. That seems impossible. Like for me, I have, a business plan that I look at every single, I look at my goals every day. I look at my business plan and I'm like, okay, I have to talk to X amount of people. I have to have X amount of leads, X amount of appointments. This leads to this many listings. And that's how I'm going to make that much money. And it's like, before I got in this business, I had no plan, right? And so
Sure.
goals wise, I would say 150 this year, which is possible, and I'm gonna do it. There's no doubt in my mind I'm gonna do it. And then,
Yeah.
looking further, just sky's the limit, really.
Yeah,
So
because you've already scaled to 10,000 a month, which is like the first big goal, right? Is like to get to that 10K a month, 10K a month, 10K a month. And then we could scale from there because so many agents, 80% of agents don't make 10K per month, 80%. And so you've already made it to the top 20% in a short amount of time, which is why I wanted to have you on the show because now it's like, well, how much further can we go? So listen, man, I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing what's been working for you truly. And I'm looking forward to the ride ahead.
yeah, for sure. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon, Hector.